Okay, so this combine happened, and I'm gonna be honest, it got my gears spinning. Look, I know coming into this draft, we thought this wasn't gonna be a strong defensive tackle class, but if the Senior Bowl has taught me anything, is that was wrong. There are a lot of really good defensive tackles, just tremendous athletes at the position. To the point to where there are going to be some dudes who would have broke the combine that are going to get forgotten about just because, Jordan Davis exists. And that's what I want to talk about today. Now, I know when we talk about draft, the usual strategy is, Browns need to get a wide receiver, you need to get two. And I've been on that, right, the two wide receivers thing. But I want to be open to more ideals, more thoughts. More different lines of thinking. And again, we can look at this kind of similarly to how a lot of teams look at it. If you want a recent example, it's the Bengals, right? The Bengals had the opportunity to go for balance or to take the gamble that they could be so powerful at one position or one element of the game that it really don't matter what else they got going, right? Bengals went in on Jamar Chase. They draft Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase works out, and that Bengals passing attack was so great that they got to the Super Bowl. Now, you could argue that they would have won the Super Bowl in a hypothetical situation if they didn't draft Jamar and went with like a tackle or something, but that's kind of irrelevant to me because they don't even make it to the Super Bowl if they don't draft Jamar Chase. Like, that's ridiculous. They're not even going to be coming close to that. So that's one line of thinking, right? Maybe instead of going for the wide receiver, like most fans logically see the Browns going after, right? Because that is a weakness. Maybe instead of that, and just try and worrying about being balanced, and maybe we could just, get a couple of guys on some 1-year deals to fill the wide receiver position for this year, but we're gonna go crazy in the draft at a different position. What would that position be? Defensive tackle. Now, defensive tackle has been a soft spot on this Browns defense for quite a long time. I think last year you can argue that it was probably the only weak spot that the defense had. Like, linebacker play was good, especially in the second half of the season. Secondary play was excellent, but you had issues up the middle, right? Malik McDowell would have good games, bad games, and then the other Malik, he would have some good games with a lot of bad games. So that was kind of the weakness. So instead of looking at that position and thinking, hey, what can we do to just be average at defensive tackle? I'm wondering, what can you do to make this defense so overpowered that it don't even matter what you could do offensively, right? How do teams get Jimmy Garoppolo to almost to 2 Super Bowls, well, to at least 2 NFC championship games? It's because they have overpowered defenses. Whenever we talk about mediocre quarterbacks that have went to or won Super Bowls, we always forget that those teams have had historic defensive level play, right? I mean, Peyton Manning, his last year of his career where he was not good, historic defense behind him, right? Nick Foles, that Philadelphia Eagles defense was insane. That defensive line especially. Like, anytime somebody tells you about, we can win with this quarterback because this mediocre quarterback went to a Super Bowl, it's usually not followed up with how good that defense had to be in order for that to happen, right? But that's the case. If you want to be able to get to the Super Bowl with a quarterback who people don't determine the Super Bowl quality right now, you're going to need a defense that's that good. Everybody brings up Trent Dilfer. Nobody want to talk about how that defense had Ed Reed and Ray Lewis and all those Hall of Famers on it. Like Chris McAllister, like all of those Hall of Famers on the defense that the Baltimore Ravens had those years were why they could do that. Now, the Browns are in a position because in this upcoming draft, they have the 13th pick. And yeah, you could get Garrett Wilson. I don't think you would regret getting Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's going to be a really good player. But the thought, and y'all know how I am, I love the trenches. I love great defensive tackle play. Y'all know what I have a preference for. So I'm just bringing this up because, I have a love for this. What if the Browns at 13 decided they're going to go Jordan Davis and then swing back around in the second and go get them Perrion Winfrey? And hell, we could get Christian Watson in the 3rd round or somebody to play wide receiver in the 3rd round, but what if they get those two? What would that mean? Now, I know there's some skeptics on Jordan Davis. I'm just going to put in perspective how insane Jordan Davis is athletically by comparing him to other players that you think of athletes, right? Jordan Davis runs faster than Patrick Mahomes. He has a faster 40 time by like 0.2 of a second than Patrick Mahomes, who we consider to be a fairly mobile quarterback, right? He's faster than Patrick Mahomes. He jumps 4 inches higher on his vertical than Jarvis Landry. Man, we never thought Jarvis couldn't jump, right? He jumps 4 inches higher than Jarvis Landry. Okay, who's another freak athlete, right? Young, fresh out of college, Odell Beckham. Freak athlete, right? Do you know that Jordan Davis has a better broad jump than Odell Beckham? Oh, it's insane. He has a better broad jump. And broad jumps usually measure explosiveness. And young Odell, especially fresh out of LSU, explosives as they come. Jordan Davis has a better broad jump than Odell. I think he has the same one that Garrett Wilson has. He's 6'6", 340. Speaking of him being 6'6", 340, that is 4 inches taller and 20 pounds heavier than Vince Wilfork. You remember Vince Wilfork, right? Big dude, biggest guy on the field all the time. He is significantly bigger, a whole toddler bigger than Vince Wilfork. And he runs faster than Patrick Mahomes. He jumps higher than Jarvis Landry. And he is more explosive than Odell Beckham. I know we don't give offensive linemen and defensive tackles the kind of love that we give linebackers, DBs, wide receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, edges when they have these kind of crazy combine numbers. Because again, if you just look at the number compared to what other people are doing, right? A 4.78 don't look that impressive when you see that other people are running 4.23, but ain't nobody doing that at 6'6", 340 pounds. So when I say this sincerely. Jordan Davis is as much as a freak athlete at his size and weight as Myles Garrett was coming out of college. And that's a hell of a, not a comp, but that's a hell of a comparison when it comes to freak athleticism. Because who is touching that at 6'6", 340? Now, there are some concerns about Jordan Davis, sure. He didn't play a bunch of snaps at Georgia. That's one of them. I think that's a little bit overblown as a concern because I don't think Jordan Davis didn't play all the snaps at Georgia because of his conditioning. I think he just didn't play all the snaps at Georgia because Georgia got more first-round picks on their defensive linemen in their defensive line last year than most teams have defensive linemen in the NFL. Like, that's just a true fact. Like, they have 4 or 5. Well, they got like 6 if you count the dudes that were coming in rotation. And then they had Jermaine Johnson, who's going to be like a second-round pick, who had to transfer to get playing time to Florida State. Like, the level of depth in Georgia's defensive line was insane. So they could afford to take a dude like Jordan Davis on the field. But if Jordan Davis went to a regular school, and like, I'm not even talking about like a MAC school or a non-power, like if Jordan Davis played at Ohio State, he would have played like 80% of snaps because he's that special of an athlete. It's just at Georgia where they got dudes like that growing off of trees for whatever reason. They can live with him not being on the field because they got other guys who are going to be just as fresh. So I don't think his snap count really is an indictment on his conditioning. I just think, they had a bunch of dudes that they had to find a way to get on the field. I mean, Devontae Wyatt is still on this team. They have a ton of dudes all over the place on that Georgia team. So I don't think the playing time thing is that much of a concern for me. Where does Jordan Davis play? There's some people who still think he can only play one position on the defensive line. I think that's ridiculous. I think he could play inside. He could do all the inside gaps, right? You put him inside, you can put him wherever you want. As a 3-tech, a 2-gap or whatever you want to do with him, put him at the nose if you just want to be hilarious. Like, you can do whatever you want with Jordan Davis, right? And he has that extra size. He has that 34-inch arms. And then you pair him with Perion Winfrey, who also had a pretty good combine. I think he ran sub 4.9 in his 40. Pretty good for a dude his size. He has the 35-inch arms. tremendous length there. And y'all saw his Senior Bowl, right? One-on-one, he's a monster. I've done the tape review. We talked about Perrion enough. Y'all know I think he's going to be one of the top 15 players in this draft. Jordan Davis certainly looking like a special athlete at the defensive tackle position. And let me ask you this question, right? Let's say the Browns trot out there Myles Garrett, Jordan Davis, Perrion Winfrey, and Jadeveon Clowney, and you got JOK over top, right, as the one linebacker in the box. It's 5 guys in the box. What's the offensive line going to do about that? Right? Because every single one of those players you want to double team. You want to double team Jadeveon Clowney. You're going to want to double team Perrion. You're going to want to double team Jordan Davis just on size alone, let alone what he could do athletically. And then you want to at least double team Myles Garrett. There's only 5 guys on the offensive line. And yeah, there are only 4 guys on the Browns defensive line. But when all 4 of those guys command double teams, it's now 8 on 4. Well, 8 on 5, right? Like that's what it turns into, is 8 on 5 football with the man over the top. So you're getting the same production and the same in effect of having 9 or 8 guys in the box by having JOK over the top with those 4 on the defensive line. But you're doing it with 5 guys when you have that dominant of a defensive line. Think the 2019 San Francisco 49ers and how they dominated, right? 4 on the box, 4 on the line, 1 on the top. That's just how they dominated. They were able to get away with 5 guys in the box, and then they forced a ton of turnovers, and they forced a lot of bad field positioning, because when you are allowed to only have 5 guys in the box, guys are going to throw interceptions. Like, it don't matter who it is. Guys are going to throw interceptions. Guys are going to turn the ball over. Guys are going to fumble. Guys are going to get sacked. They're going to have bad field position. You're going to have good field position. And look, the Browns' running game is good enough to be able to score off of those things, or at least get field goals off of those things. Like, whatever Baker does is what Baker does, but I doubt he'll be so terrible again that he's going to, like, be offsetting to what would be a historical defense, in my opinion. So even if that's who you throw out there, fine. I mean, if it gets bad enough with Baker, you could just put, let's just for theory, I don't think he's going to be on the team next year, but Case Keenum out there, and he could do enough to where you can get away with it. Like, you won't need much out the quarterback position if your defense is that good, because what the offense is going to be asked to do is very little, right? The defense is going to be that good. And again, you have 4 guys who need double teams on that defensive line. That makes the math so much harder for offensive linemen. How do you, if you're the Bengals, right? How do you block the Browns knowing that you like to go 5 wide and leave no tight ends in the box, right? And maybe you leave a running back to help. What is a running back going to do to a 6'6", 340-pound Perrion Winfrey running through a single team block? What's a running back going to do to Myles Garrett? What's a running back going to do to Jordan Davis? What's a running back going to do to Jadeveon? Not a single damn thing. So now all of a sudden, they got to get rid of the ball quickly. When a team has to get rid of the ball quickly and the opposing defense only has to have 5 men in the box, all them quick throws can turn into interceptions like that. So you look at it from that perspective, right? You have to look at this from the perspective of the offense, where the defense is going to create offense for the offense. Like, that's just what it's going to be. And let's face it, we could draft all the wide receivers in the world. We still going to have questions about the passing offense. Like, it's not going to resolve anything until we see it, right? So what's the most safe way to build this team? I think, in my opinion, let's overload the defense. And if you can get 2 special athletes like Perrion Winfrey and Jordan Davis with your first 2 picks of this draft, you completely solidify the interior of that defense. You have good rotational guys that you could throw in there, like a Jordan Davis, well, not a Jordan Davis, like a Tommy Togiai and whoever else you want to add in there. And then you have Myles Garrett, you have Jadeveon Clowney. You can mess around and sign another edge in free agency, and all of a sudden you have a defense that can live with 5 people in the box. And I don't care how bad your offense is. I don't care what you feel about the quarterback. You know, and there's reason to feel all kind of ways about the quarterback, but don't care what you feel about that. If you can stop teams with 5 men in the box and both pass and run, you're going to win a lot of football games. That's just the law of football. I don't care who you got. It could be a complete bum at quarterback. 5 men in the box, you're going to be all right. You're going to be all right. It don't matter. History bears this out. Look at all the teams that's been able to do that, and look how far they've gotten. Because when you can defend a run and pass and not have to worry about nothing with 5 in the box, especially 5 players with that potential. I mean, look, JOK's the dude over top. he could cover the whole field. Like, it's insane what they would be able to do if they considered this option. Now, I'm not saying that this is what they gonna do or what they better do. I don't know, right? I think that if they did this, some people would be mad. I certainly wouldn't. I would be excited about it, right? Because I could see the potential in what you could build there. But that's going to be something interesting to look at, because again, those are 4 dudes who are freaks at their positions that you can get, right? Ain't never been a dude like Jadeveon Clowney to come into the draft, right? Athletically. And then Myles Garrett comes around and he's the dude that broke the mold for Jadeveon Clowney. Just a freak athletically. And ain't nothing like Jordan Davis ever been in the NFL. And Perrion's not that far away from him athletically. That, and then a little JOK too over top. And then let's also keep in the fact that, like, you could have average defensive backs in that kind of a situation when you could stop the run and pass with 5 players in the box. Let's not forget that it's not average defensive backs that the Browns got. It's Grant Delpit, it's John Johnson III, it's Denzel Ward, and it's Greg Newsome. So when you consider all of that, all of the pieces that the Browns have, I feel like it's a slept on thing. It's not something that's going to be super popular between all fans, but let's say you do go crazy and do go all in on the defense and you take Jordan Davis and you take Winfrey at 44. I think that you have the potential to become one of the best defenses, not just in football, but within the last 10 years, because it's insane with that length, that size, what you could be able to accomplish. That's just my thoughts on it. That's the argument for the Browns going big in the draft, right? And y'all know me. I kind of have a bias towards going big. I like the big boys. I like the physical players. I like the rough stuff. I like getting in the trenches with these guys, right? So when it comes to that, I feel like there's a good argument you can make for Jordan Davis and the Winfrey combo. Like, whether that's realistic or not, I don't know, because could go in the first round and then all my dreams are crushed. And Jordan could go in the top 10 and all my dreams are crushed. But if you do have that opportunity, I do think it's something worthwhile considering, because you would be really good defensively if you could do that. And I think it would mitigate your issues offensively to the point to where you get away with virtually anything almost there. And history has proven that to be the case. But that's my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Again, guys, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Have a good night.